everyone, this is Amy or LittleSurprisesYT, and I have another Ikea clock hack for you. I just wanted to mention that this is a process video, meaning there is no full tutorial on how to make the individual 12 pieces you will see here, just like my other Tsum Tsum clock. More information will be down in the description box, and if you have any questions, always feel free to comment down below, and I'll try to get back to all of your questions. So let's begin. I posted on Instagram my progress photos, and you guys even guessed what you thought I was making, and a few of you guys actually did guess Sailor Moon, which I was really happy about. So here are some other behind the scenes photos that I took while making them, so you can see that I made each of these by hand. These pieces took me between 6 to 7 hours to make, and then the rest of the clock making process took me 2 to 3 hours, so almost 10 hours total. As with my Tsum Tsum clock, I had a template of what I envisioned my clock would look like. So I had the abbreviations of each of the Sailor Scouts on the sides of the clock, and then after I made all of the pieces, here are what they each look like. I will have photos at the very end of the video if you guys didn't get a clear look at each of the pieces. Sometimes when I thought that the mouth was falling off or a little too thin, I scraped it off with my X-Acto knife and then painted it in. This only happened with Sailor Pluto and Sailor Jupiter. Again, before doing anything final, I placed my Sailor Scouts in a circle to see how they would look. I did end up changing the position of Uranus and Neptune. I took apart the pieces of my clock, so I started with the front plastic portion of my clock. I used a plastic tool to push at the back. There are 3 little notches where you can push out the front part of the clock. And then after I did that, I started to remove the hands. So as you can see, the seconds hand is on top, then the minutes hand, then the hours. So you have to remember the positioning of all of these hands when we put them back together. And after that, I started to remove the template or the paper of the clock. It's okay if it rips unless you want to keep it. In that case, I would suggest you do this very slowly. There is like sticky, it's not glue, but it's like a sticky substance that keeps the paper onto the plastic portion of the clock. There is a little piece of paper near the number 6 of each of the Ikea clocks. That is the easiest way to pull apart the paper. Then I started to take out the battery portion of the clock, and it's best done where the battery is not, so at the top portion of the black box. Since I did not intend to keep the paper that came with the Ikea clock, I used it as my ruler or my mold to make a template for what is going to be the face of my clock. I am using Cardstock from Recollections. I also marked off each of the 12 numbers using the numbers and the spacing that was provided by the Ikea clock. I also painted in the stars, the moons, and the little hearts to make it look more Sailor Moon-like. I really like how this turned out. After I cut it out, I also marked each of the lines with little dots, and these dots represent where I am going to glue down the heads. So again, I placed them on the paper to make sure everything was spaced out correctly before gluing them down. I also cut out a little hole in the center so that the hands of the clock are able to poke out and move around the clock. Thereafter, I erased the line portion of where I indented the numbers on the clock, leaving only the little dots where I knew I had to glue my little Sailor Moon heads. Just like with my Tsum Tsum clock, I glued down the 12, 3, 6, and 9 positions before gluing down the other pieces. This is just like my own little marker. And then after I had glued down all the pieces, I took the seconds, minutes, and hours hands, sorry about that, and then cut them down so that they would fit inside the clock. Thereafter, I used some E6000 glue to glue down the face of my clock onto the back portion of the plastic, and then reassembled all of the hands. Here you can see I am moving around the seconds hand to make sure that the minutes hand is in the right position and is moving around. And then I also did this with the minutes hand to make sure when I turned the minutes hand around, the hours hand was moving. So this is just my way to check that it is in the right position. When the E6000 has dried, I gave this about an hour. I put the lid back on, and then I put a battery into the back, making sure that the clock was in working condition. Here I am moving the dial on the back of the clock to make sure that the hands aren't touching any of the faces of the Sailor Scouts. If this did happen, I would just cut the hands down a little more. And if you notice, I also added in a little star on the minutes hand to differentiate the hour and the minutes. And here it is working, and I am really in love with this clock, just like I was with the Tsum Tsum's clock. And here is an in-depth look at all of the little pieces. Here are the two clocks that I've made side by side. I made a third large clock that I'm not sure if I showed you guys before, but it's going to be pictured here. I gave this to my friend when he first moved into his first home, and I'm really excited to make more clocks in the future. And as you can see, this one, I made this about 3 months ago or 4 months ago, back in August, September, and that one battery I still haven't changed yet, so you can see that it's still working. And this one I just put in the new battery, so we'll see how long both of these last. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the photos, and I look forward to making more clock hacks for you. Let me know what else you want me to make, and thank you guys so much again for watching.